What does God look like? What do you see?
We're solar-powered biological AI.
Wait, what?
These ancient adversarial entities, I think it's the very same ones that rebelled against God and were cast out.
They were sent here to guide us in antiquity, and they took advantage of that and just masqueraded as gods. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Gray Pill Podcast. I am your host, Jules, here today with another banger. I got Micah Dank in the house. Micah, what's going on, man?
Much, man. Just making my rounds, just sharing what I found.
Yeah.
Well, I want to pre-emphasize before I actually get into anything a couple of things. I was a 32nd degree Master Mason, and I was in the lodge and everything. And I'm from New York, and I was from a Long Island lodge. New York City has the Grand Lodge, which oversees everything, all of them. I lectured what I'm going to lecture with you today for that lodge.
Okay.
And then they got in touch with someone from my lodge and said they had it removed because it was unscholarly, but also too revealing of the signs. So I got up and I left the Masons. I don't deal with gatekeeping. This presentation that I'm doing right now, I also got me removed from YouTube.
Really? When did that happen?
November, like the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, it's been like 4 months. So it's very controversial, especially to religious people. But I'm just going to show what I found, and I'm going to let y'all decide what you think of it.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, here on Gray Pill, dude, we talk about a lot of things. Sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes I make myself uncomfortable, but I think that's good in learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everything that we're taught is 100% the truth, you know? So it's left up to interpretation sometimes, but like you just said, you know, everyone has their own opinion, and they share that here. I have a pretty open-minded audience, so I'm stoked for you to be on, dude. Stoked for you. I don't have to tell you to introduce yourself or anything. Hell yeah. So what do you want to start off with today, man? Because I'm very eager to see what you have. Let's just say that.
So I'm sharing my screen. So what you need to do is put it up. And let's start going through this, okay? I'm just gonna start. So the Bible, the scriptures are metaphysical. One second. Astrological, that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Anatomical, alchemical, spiritual, esoteric, and mythology. It's also a gematria, an etymology, a numerology, a symbology, and it's a psychedelic book too, if you've ever read The Mushroom and the Cross by John Allegro. So there's 12 holy sciences in the Bible. The Bible is not literal, it's not history, it's not reality, and it's not original. I'm going to show you that. Now, I mentioned here numerology, and I'm going to give you one example of numerology, just because I want to give an example of something different before I get into the astrological part. So Simon, you can't really see it here, but so Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. So 153, right? Why 153? Well, this is known as the Vesica Pisces. Pisces being the two fish. The center right here is the Vesica Pisces. But if I were to just do this, what do you see here?
A fish.
The fish. This is the Jesus fish, right? That's
Yeah.
one fish. And here's the other fish. That's the two fish. Also, this right here, the centerpiece right here, the mathematical equation for it is 265 over 153, which is why there was 153 fish in the boat, because they're talking about the Pisces, the fish. But what I'm gonna do is, I just wanted to give you an example of numerology before, but now we're gonna go into the astrology part. But what I wanted to do is explain to you, because you guys are gonna see the patterns that I'm making, and you're gonna ask yourself, well, what's the point of it? So let me answer that now, and then I'll reiterate it later. So what is the point of what I'm about to show you? We take for granted that we have calendars, clocks, watches, weathermen. The ancients didn't have any of that. They had sundials. In the Bible, they worked on dream interpretations for the harvest. They needed to know things. They needed to know that Taurus is when you put the plow on the bull and plant as above, so below. The Bible is an encoded farmer's almanac, and was the knowledge of staying alive the most important thing ever. They would look at the stars and see all the movement and make stories up about them and pass them down to their children, then them to their children, etc. Eventually, they learned how to write, and they wrote them down, and they evolved from Sumerian to Babylonian to Egyptian to Judaism in the Old Testament, then to the Christians in the New Testament, the Quran, the Book of Mormon. It's in everything. Just as a point of contact, real quick, just to let you know, I've done this presentation for Clint Russell. I've done it for Reed Coverdale. I've done it for Top Lobster. I've done it for Raven. I've done it for everybody. And I'm going to do it for you. And hopefully we'll see what you think. I'm going to read you this quote right here, which is very important because I'm going to continue to read it throughout here. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. That's John Dominic Crossan. So this is the zodiac right here. Cancer at the top. This denotes the summer. Capricorn at the bottom. This is the winter. Now, the patterns that I'm going to make with the zodiac, I'm going to show you. So, for example, these are the kind of patterns we're going to make. If I'm talking about Aries right here, the patterns you can make are its two connecting signs, which is Pisces and Taurus. So that's two connecting signs. And Aries to Libra, which is its opposing sign. Not only will they make patterns, but it will always be these specific patterns. It's never going to jump from Leo to Sagittarius. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't link at all. This will start to make sense, I promise you. I've done this a billion times. Now, there's questions in the Bible you can ask. How Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why he was dead for 3 days, why is his birthday on December 25th. All of this is astrology, and I'm going to show you. So the most important thing that you need to remember from Genesis 1:14, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and the year. And that's what it is. Now, each zodiac sign is called a house, or an era, or an eon, or a sign, like we just mentioned. A mansion, for example. There's many words that they use to talk about it, but they're talking about these 12 zodiac signs. The other thing I want to mention to you right here is that what I'm highlighting right here, these dividing lines between the signs, they don't actually exist. When you look in the sky, you don't see dividing lines between the signs. What this denotes is known as a cusp or a handover date, if you've ever heard those words. What it denotes is the last 3 days of a sign and the first 3 days of the next sign when the energies blend over. And for example, if we're talking about something and it's at the cusp right here, for example, this is Cancer and Leo. Cancer's the crab. You could talk about the crab. Leo's the lion. You could talk about the lion. But if it's just in the sign, you can only talk about that one. But if it's at the dividing point, you can talk about either because it sits between them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you the 12 signs like you've never heard before. And I'm going to go through them. And I'm going to give you keywords in each sign that attach to each sign. And you're going to agree with me on them. What I want you to do is not memorize this. I'm not expecting you to do that. I just want you guys to be like, oh, when I bring it up, just be like, yeah, I remember him saying that earlier. That's really all you need to do. You don't need to worry that you're not going to get it. So the first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man. Now, technically, Aries begins the year. In fact, the new year began yesterday during the spring equinox. That's the agricultural year. That's when it begins. Mm-hmm. But I start with Aquarius because you'll see why in a minute. The story of Aquarius, its origin, one of its origin stories, goes back to the story of Zeus and the young boy. And that story basically goes like this. Zeus saw a 14-year-old boy on Earth that he wanted in heaven or on Mount Olympus with him. Incidentally, side note, Mount Olympus is actually a real place on Earth. And none of the Greeks, a total of 0 of the Greeks, actually went up there to see if the gods were up there. But that's a different story. The story of Zeus and the young boy goes that Zeus wanted the boy up there with him. And the boy's father wouldn't let him go. So Zeus basically has to bargain with him, give him money, give him land, give him all this kind of stuff. Eventually, the boy's allowed to go up. While he's up there, he's feeding everybody out of this water pitcher, something called ambrosia, which was the nectar of the gods. He's doing this day in and day out, and eventually he gets fed up with it. So what he does is he goes to the side of heaven, or Mount Olympus, as you call it, and pours it out, just like in this picture. And this flood Earth. The stuff that comes out of the water pitcher, the nectar, it floods Earth. That's where the Greeks get their flood story from, because he poured it out.
Okay.
Now, in a moment, Zeus, we know, is a very difficult god. He's a very sexual god. He's a deviant god. He's a drunk. He's a million different things. He's a very angry god, and he was going to punish him. But in a rare moment of self-reflection, which was unlike for Zeus, he goes, I probably shouldn't have brought this young boy up here. He had a life and this and that. Instead of punishing him, what he does is he immortalizes him as the constellation Aquarius, and that's what you're looking at right here. So the key words for Aquarius are man, because this is the sign of the man, whereas Virgo is the sign of the woman. Baptism, because this is literally how you baptize someone. You put somebody under this, and that's how you baptize them. Water pitcher, because there's a water pitcher. Fountain, all the ancient Greek fountain statues were built like this. Stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea, water bodies. Now, Aquarius in astrology is an air sign. It's not a water sign. But because there's liquid here, there's water here, they used it to encode keywords for Aquarius, whereas Pisces here is the sign of the 2 fish in the water. Pisces is actually a water sign. So all the water examples, stream, river, pond, lake, sea, ocean. So the reason I start with Aquarius is to show that the first 2 that I talk about are water. You're just talking about water. Whether it's Aquarius water or Pisces water, it depends on the patterns it's going to make in the zodiac. Now, Aries is the ram, and in Aries you have March 21st, that was yesterday, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. There's also 3 different types of Passovers that occur. The first one is the astrological one, which is the day that the sun yesterday passes over the equator and start to make its way back to its height in the summer. The Christianity, the passing over, is changed, and it's called the resurrection of God's Son. And the third Passover is the Jewish Passover. That's when the angel of death passes over all the Egyptian houses, and anyone that doesn't have the lamb, which is a baby ram's blood, smeared on the doorpost. Why did they do that? Because it delineates the fact that they're the people of Aries. The Jews are the people of Aries, the ram. That's why they blow the ram's horn during the high holidays, because they're the people of Aries. It's Aries worship. So whenever you're talking about ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, that's Aries. Then Taurus is the bull. When you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So it's as above, so below. You see the bull in the sky, you put the plow on earth. Now, we have John Deere equipment that does that now. But back in the day, they needed to use the bull to do this. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or whenever you read bull, ox, calf, or cow being the female bull, that's Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. This is another Greek story. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, that's Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. So can you see me right here holding this up?
Yeah.
Okay. What the sun does on December 25th. Well, actually, you know what? I could show it here. So what am I on? 14? Okay. Starting on December 25th, the sun rises a degree. Let me change the color so that you can actually see this. Let's do black. On December 25th, the sun rises a degree. On the 26th, an additional degree. On the 27th, an additional degree. This is not to scale, but basically what I'm doing with these little black lines is showing you that every day the sun's going to rise an additional degree on its axis until it hits its height in the, right here, in the summer solstice. That's June 21st. Then on June 22nd, what it's going to do is it's not going to rise an additional degree or lower an additional degree. What it does is it walks sideways and stays at that exact height for 3 days, just like the crab. That's why Cancer is the crab, because it walks sideways for 3 days. Then on June 25th, it's going to drop a degree. Then it's going to continue to drop a degree. It's basically the inverse of what I was talking about. It drops a degree every single day until it hits December 21st, which is right here. Then what it does is for 3 days, it walks sideways. Now, so it walks every day. It's either rising a degree or dropping a degree, except for 6 days in the year. Now, when the sun hits December 21st, that's the winter solstice. That's the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year. The sun doesn't crack the horizon on December 21st. And the ancients used to notice that. They would say God's son was dead. And then just like it walks 3 days in the crab, it's going to walk 3 days here. So suddenly God's son was dead for 3 days. We're on December 25th, which is the birth of all the gods, all of them. It comes back to life. It's born again. The risen Savior, the light of the world, the only begotten Son is born again. It comes back to life. So that's what I wanted to show you for Cancer. So also in the Egyptian times, the Cancer was known, the crab was known as the scarab. We literally, if you look at the words crab, you can get it from the word scarab. So whenever you're talking about crab or beetle, you're talking about Cancer. Leo is the lion. He's the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle, the king of the savannah. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you're talking about lion, lioness, or cub, that's Leo. Virgo is the virgin, the woman holding the stalk of wheat right here. I'm going to color it for you. There she's holding a stalk of wheat. Why? Because you plant in Taurus, and then in Virgo, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo. It's the harvest season in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear woman, virgin, wheat, right here, grain, seed, barley, corn, these are all grainy things that in the northern hemisphere thousands of years ago they used to cultivate in Virgo during the harvest season. Then in Libra, this is the justice, the scales, the balance, the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it's going to judge God's sun as it passes over, or technically passes under, the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. The Jews always celebrate their new year around the fall equinox, always. I'll give you an example. In 2023, the Jewish New Year was September 15th, which is Virgo. Well, 8 days after the Jewish New Year, and it's always 8 days, they have a holiday called Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement or the Day of Judgment. We'll add 8 days to September 15th. That's September 23rd. That's the first day of Libra. Of course, the Day of Judgment has to happen with the scales, with the balance. So all law-related things, law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, this is all law-related things. It's also wine season. This is when you plant in Taurus the grapes and you pick the wines in Libra, the grapes in Libra, in order to make the wine for the year. So wine, vineyard, wine press. It's also when you pick the olives to make the sacred oil for the year. So all law-related things, all wine-related things, all olive-related things. That's Libra. Then Scorpio is the scorpion, and he is the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you or attacks you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. It's why the mafia has the kiss of death. That's where they get it from. And it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So what happens is the sun is judged in Libra, it's betrayed in Scorpio, and then finally in Sagittarius, this is where the rider with the bow and the arrow shoots this arrow into the sun, killing it. Why? Because the last day of Sagittarius is December 21st. That's the day of death. That's the day the sun dies. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, or horseman, that's Sagittarius. And here you have the zodiac wheel for Capricorn, which is the last sign we're going to go into. Now, December 25th, the sun rises a degree. Every day it rises a degree. The sun starts making its journey up what is known as the Great Mountain, which is the zodiac. And the reason it's the goat is because the goats, the mountain goats, climb the mountain better than anything. So those are the 12 signs. So what I want to do now is, in church, they give you key words for Christ. There's names for him. Again, this entire presentation is going to show you how Jesus is the Son. So what I want you to see, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to make a case for it. So he has, what?
That's a, oh, no, I'm just saying. All right.
He has names for Christ in church. Now notice here the sun is behind his head, because the sun is behind his head in every picture because he is the sun. When the sun, or Jesus, is in Capricorn, the goat, he's the scapegoat of Israel. When the sun is in the man sign Aquarius, the sign of the man, he is the son of man. When the sun is in Pisces, the two fish, he is the fisher of men, and it's also why he feeds the masses with two fish being Pisces. When the sun is the ram in Aries, he's the Lamb of God. Cancer's the scarab. A lot of Christians quote me St. Augustine all the time, but they don't realize that St. Augustine called Jesus the good beetle, because he knew that when Jesus the sun was in Cancer, he was the good beetle. When the sun is in Leo, he is the Lion of Judah. The lady holding the stalk of wheat, Virgo, he is born of a virgin, and he is called the bread of life. Libra is the scales of justice. He's known as the just one. Then he's betrayed in Scorpio. He dies in Sagittarius on December 21st, and it's why he's worshipped on the Sunday, whereas the Jews worship on the Saturday or the Saturn day, because they're a lunar-based Saturnalia cult. That's what the Jews are. That's why it's the Saturn day that they worship on, and the Christians worship on the Sun day. Now, I'm going to start reading you scripture, and I'm going to give you examples of how this works. He gave them honey from the cliffs and olive oil from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. He gave them lambs and goats. They had the best rams from Bashan and the finest wheat. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. So he gave them honey. In the sign Cancer, there is a group of stars that is very closely knit like this, called the beehive cluster. That's where the honey comes from, the beehive cluster. The beehive cluster, if you trace it back even further, was originally called the manger. So go figure. Olive oil is Libra. That's when it's produced. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. Well, the milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose center is in Sagittarius. Now, the last day of Sagittarius right here is the beginning of winter. The first day of Cancer right here is the beginning of summer. So your entire zodiac right here, what I'm doing, denoting this, from summer to winter is your land of milk and honey. It's not a place on earth. Now he gave them lambs, that's Aries, and goats, that's Capricorn, the goat. They had the best rams, that's Aries from Bashan, and the finest wheat. The wheat is Virgo, the lady with the wheat stalk. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. That's Libra too. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. That's Taurus. In Deuteronomy 32, there are 10 signs total. So now what I want to do is, now that I've given you an example of this, I want to show you how they use it, how they use the wheel to make the story. Jesus led his disciples to the Mount of Olives after his last Passover. Mount of Olives and Passover. So that he could teach them a few more things, pray, then wait for Judas to betray him. While walking to the Mount of Olives, he gave the parable of the true vine. So look at what I highlighted. So now Passover takes place in Aries, right here. But right after that, he walks to the Mount of Olives. Well, olives are Libra. Those are opposing signs. So now you're in Libra. They are waiting for Judas to betray him. Who's the betrayer? It's the connecting sign to Libra, which is Scorpio. They're waiting for the betrayer. So it goes across the wheel, and then the next sign is Scorpio. But remove it because they're not in Scorpio, because they're waiting for him to betray. He hasn't actually betrayed, so Scorpio hasn't been activated. While he's still in Libra, he gives the parable of the true vine, which has to do with the grapes, which is why he's here. Both the olives and the grapes have to do with Libra. So Passover in Aries, go to Libra, you're waiting for the betrayer, next sign. These are all patterns. And then while in Libra, the parable of the true vine. In Revelation 4:7, the first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. The first living creature was like a lion. That's Leo. The second was like an ox. That's Taurus. The third had a face like a man. That's Aquarius. The fourth was like a flying eagle. In astrology, the Scorpio scorpion is the belly crawling creature. It's the lowest form of life on earth to crawl on your belly. For an animal to crawl on a belly is a low. It's a low form of life on earth. In fact, in Mexico during Santo de la Muerte, what they do is the men dress up in suits and they get on their hands and knees in their belly and they crawl to church. It's a punishment. In the Garden of Eden, the first thing that God does before he even kicks Adam and Eve out after the deception was to take the legs of the snake away, so it had to slither on its belly. It's a punishment. But in astrology, the evolved form of the scorpion, also known as the ascendant, is the eagle. The eagle is the highest flying form of life on earth. So the eagle is actually Scorpio. So Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio are the four fixed signs of the zodiac. So what are the fixed signs? Well, let me give you an example here. Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra, when you connect them, form the cross that God's son carries to his death. These are known as the cardinal signs. That's why there's cardinals in church. If I were to take one of these zodiac signs, you can actually break it down into 3 10-day segments in astrology called deacons, which is why you have deacons and cardinals in church. This is the first sign of the season. This is the second sign of the season. This is the third sign of the season. There's 12 zodiac signs and 4 seasons, so 3 go in each. This is the cardinal sign. This here is the fixed sign because look, it's in the middle of the season. Leo is the middle of summer. Scorpio or the eagle is the fall. Aquarius is winter. And Taurus is spring. The third sign here is known as the mutable water sign. The mutable sign. So if you read this again, the first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. You could believe that there's going to be a 4-headed creature in the sky, or that it literally just makes this X through the zodiac wheel. Because Taurus and the eagle are opposing signs, and Leo and Aquarius are opposing signs, as I've explained to you, connecting signs and opposing signs. Those are the patterns that you're going to see. Ezekiel 10:14, each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub, the second the face of a human being, the third the face of a lion, the fourth the face of an eagle. So now Revelation 12, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. A woman clothed with the sun is the sun clothed in Virgo. Virgo is the woman, and it's a metaphor for the sun being in Virgo. So let me explain this to you real quick. There are 12 zodiac signs. There's a 24-hour-a-day clock. So the sun spends 2 hours a day in each sign. It's really just simple math. You don't even really need, it's just obvious. What I want to show you is, if you look at this like a clock, this is midnight to 2. This is 2 to 4. This is 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4. Virgo, the woman, 4 to 6 p.m. If the sun is 4 to 6 p.m. As the sun is clothed in Virgo, the sun is still up. Whereas if the sun is up, the moon will be at her feet. It's just a metaphor. If the moon is at, the sun is at her feet. It's just a metaphor. So now another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous dragon. Its tail, which is right here that I'm coloring red, swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. This is the constellation Draco, which is the dragon. Its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is 4/12 of the signs, or 1/3 of the stars out of the sky. So now if I go to Matthew 10:16, behold, I send you forth as sheep, that's Aries, in the midst of wolves. The constellation Lupus means wolf and is in Libra. So right here, this is an opposing sign. This is another pattern that it makes. So be as wise as serpents. The serpent is the constellation Ophiuchus, which is the 13th sign. That is the serpent bearer. That is the serpent. It sits right here between Scorpio and Sagittarius. The dove is one of the 8 evolved forms of Scorpio. So what you have here is you have an opposing sign. You go from Aries to Libra, and then it's 3 signs in a row. And that's just from behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be as wise as serpent and harmless as doves. So I've given examples of astrotheology in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, and I've been accused of cherry-picking verses from the Bible to prove a point. So let's take a much longer passage, see if we can decode it as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to you about, you familiar with the book of Job?
Some of the verses in there. I'm more familiar with the story of Job.
Okay, good. So explain to everybody what the story of Job is.
Well, with his sons, right? They basically all were cursed, he was tempted by Satan, right? Through all this bad stuff happening to him to curse God's name, and he never did, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the story, is that he had everything, right? And Satan goes, the only reason he loves you is because he has everything. Take it away and he'll curse you. And God takes the bet. He says the only thing you can't do is take his life. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read you God's response when Job is basically sitting there and he's covered in boils and he's crying out to God for like 20 pages. And then God replies to him. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you lead forth the Mazzaroth? This was intentionally untranslated through every Bible. And the reason they don't want you to know that is because the Mazzaroth is actually the zodiac. That's what it means. Mazzaroth over time becomes the word Mazalot, which survives in Judaism today as Mazel Tov. And you know how old Mazel Tov is. You can only imagine how old the word Mazzaroth is.
Right.
Mazel Tov means good fortune from the stars. So what is the Lord's challenge to Job? He first says, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Those are open celestial metaphors, like the ones I've been explaining to you. But then he goes into this. Can you bring forth the constellation in their seasons or lead out the bear with its cubs? The bear and its cubs, the constellations are the zodiac above, and the bear and its cubs are Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Ursa Minor, part of the Big Dipper. That's in Taurus and Gemini. No, that's in Gemini and Cancer, sorry. Who can tip over the water jars of the heavens? That's literally the man holding the water pitcher pouring it out. That's Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger for the lions? That's Leo. Okay, so Gemini, Cancer, and Leo are 3 signs in a row. Who provides food for the raven? That's the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders on Virgo. Now it's 4 signs in a row. Do you watch where the doe bears her fawn? Mriga, meaning deer, is located in Orion. That's between Taurus and Gemini. Who let the wild donkey go free? That's Acellus borealis, meaning donkey, and is located in Cancer. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? That's Taurus. The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully. Lambda Aquila or Al Thaliman, which means 2 ostriches in Arabic. Do you give the horse its strength? So because they mentioned the horse, we know it's Sagittarius, the man on the horse. But if you keep reading, it says, it laughs if you're afraid of nothing. It does not shy away from the sword. The quiver, they mentioned the quiver. What a quiver is it sits on the side of the horse that holds the arrows so the man can pick it out of there and shoot. So that's Sagittarius. Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? That's Aquila, which is a Latin name for eagle and is a constellation a few degrees above the celestial equator. Finally, he says, can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook? And Leviathan was an ancient fish god, just the same way as Mithra was, just the same exact way as Dagon was. These are competing fish gods during the age of Pisces. Pisces the fish. That's why they had fish gods. So if you look here, there's a bunch of patterns going on, and his response to him was basically like, do you understand my heavens? So how Jesus was able to heal the blind, let's go over this one real quick. The story goes that the blind man comes up to Jesus, and he can't see. He's blind. And Jesus goes, or it's through his faith, Jesus is like, yeah, I'll heal him. And then what happens is I think he puts a little dirt on his eyes, and then when it falls off, he's able to see. That's the story.
He spits on the dirt, I think.
Well, I'm sorry?
I think he spits on the dirt, doesn't he?
Yeah. But that's the story. But the sun does the same thing too, because when the sun goes down, we're all blind. We can't see anymore. Without artificial light, we can't see. We need to wait for the sun to come up in the morning and touch our eyes to give us the sight again. How he walked on water. Well, we know that Jesus walked on water in the story. But the sun does that too. If you've ever gone fishing in the morning or in the evening, you see the sun walk on the water. Also, the New Testament was written by Jews in Greek. And Christ is Christos in Greek. Christos means anointed one or oil. And doesn't oil also sit and walk on water?
Right.
All right. So this is a triple entendre. So how he turned water into wine, this is not a parlor story. This is actually a process. So the reason God is considered a man and Mother Earth is considered a woman has to do with one thing. And that thing is the rain. It's God's sacred fluid. The word is shemen. We get the word semen from it. In Hebrew, it's shemen. We get the word semen from it. So what you have to think about is the poetry of this, is that God is going to come all over Mother Earth, and from her belly, things are going to start to grow. Trees, vegetation, food. So what happens is in Taurus, you plant the seeds for the grapes, and then April showers bring May flowers. That's Taurus. And what happens is the sun is going to continue to, it's going to rain and rain and rain. The sun's going to make its way from Taurus all the way to Libra. In Libra, you pick the grapes in order to make the wine. That's how you turn God's water into wine. Why he had 12 disciples, I'm going to show you that right now. Gemini is the twins. Thomas Didymus. Tom, in Hebrew, the word ta'om or tom means twin. In Greek, the word Didymus means twin. So Thomas is Gemini. Aquarius, the man with the water pitcher, that's John the Baptist. Libra's the scales. James is the just one. Scorpio, Judas is the betrayer, just like the scorpion. Pisces right here is Simon Peter. And the way you get Simon Peter is because Matthew goes to Matt, Jonathan goes to John. These names make sense when you shorten them, but Jesus calls Simon Peter, but it doesn't actually make sense why he goes from Simon to Peter unless you understand astrology. See, what happens is Simon by trade was a fisherman. So by fish, that's Pisces. And he's called Peter because the ruling planet of Pisces right here is Jupiter or Jew Peter. So I just gave you 5 examples of the zodiac and showed you how they tie to the disciples. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to give you any more because I want to continue with this. So that's why he had 12 disciples. Why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas. We went over that earlier. Why was he dead for 3 days? We went over that earlier. Why is his birthday on December 25th? Now, I know I'm going to get people, especially Christians, that tell me his birthday wasn't December 25th. His birthday was September 11th. Well, the reason you think his birthday was September 11th was because that's Virgo. And in the Egyptian times, the new year didn't start in Aries. It started in Virgo. So what happens is the sun would come to an end in Leo, the sign right before Virgo, and then a brand new sun would be born to a virgin in Virgo, the beginning of the year. He's born during the Feast of the Tabernacles. He's born during Passover. Whatever you believe in, this is the story behind it. So that's why every god was born on December 25th. So this science only works for people in the Northern Hemisphere. There's a reason for that. The Egyptians, Jews, Christians, and Muslims are all based out of the Northern Hemisphere. For example, June 21st, the summer solstice is actually the winter solstice in Australia and New Zealand, much of South Africa and South America. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just random passages in the Bible that can be decoded this way, even though I gave you the book of Job.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to go through the entire book of Revelation to show how deep this runs. So,
Okay.
let's go with that. We'll start with that. Now, Revelation 4:7 is the 4 living creatures, which we already did. So I'm going to skip that because we already touched base on this. So let me skip that. Revelation 5:5. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." Well, the Lion of Judah is Leo. Revelation 6:1. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures. The 4 living creatures are the fixed signs that we just went over before, say in a voice like thunder, "Come." The Lamb has to open the first seal because the Lamb is Aries. That's the beginning of the year. So it has to open the first one. They mentioned the words, the 4 living creatures. Those are the fixed signs again. They mentioned thunder in a voice right here. In Hebrew, the Jewish word for thunder literally translates to voices, because when they used to hear the thunder, they thought that's when God was speaking, just like Moses on top of the mountain. Revelation 6:2. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow. Who's the horse with the bow and the arrow? That's literally Sagittarius. Then I heard what sounded like a voice of the 4 living creatures, again, the fixed signs, saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, that's Virgo, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, that's Virgo, the bread and the beer. And do not damage the oil and the wine. The oil and the wine is Libra. Well, Virgo, the 2 examples, and Libra, the 2 examples, those are connecting signs. This is another pattern. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. And the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. So the goat is Capricorn. And they mentioned the moon right after, because Capricorn's opposing sign is Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. This is teaching you astrology. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. There are 7 chakras. The root has 4 petals, the sacral has 6, the solar plexus has 10, the heart has 12, and the throat has 16, which equals 48. The third eye chakra is represented by 96 and only has 2 petals because it's 2 times as powerful as the lower chakras. So 48 times 2 is 96. The crown chakra is 1,000 times more powerful than the lower 6 chakras. When you add the lower 6, you get 96 plus 48 equals 144. You times that by 1,000 and you get your 144,000. What it's telling you is not that only 144,000 people get to go to heaven to see God. What it's telling you is when you've activated all your chakras, that is when you actually get to go see God. And that is not evil, my friend. Now, out of the smoke, locusts came down. This is Revelation 9:3. Came down on the earth and were given powers like that of scorpions on earth. Well, what is the power of the scorpion? What does it do? I explained it to you. The scorpion betrays. That's what it does. So how do the locusts betray? Well, we're going to get to this very shortly when I start to do the book of Matthew. I'm going to read you Leviticus 11, which shows you that locusts are food. But a lot of locusts is a betrayal. See, it's food, but then a lot of locusts actually becomes a plague. So it's a metaphorical betrayal. That's what it's trying to tell you. The locusts look like horses prepared for battle. On their heads, they wore something like crowns of gold. So horse is Sagittarius. The crown of gold is the sun in Sagittarius. Their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had tails with stingers like scorpions. So the sun in Sagittarius, Virgo, Leo, and Scorpio. Virgo and Libra are connecting signs. Revelation 12, this is the dragon. We did this already, so I'm going to skip this too. Now look at this one, Revelation 13:2. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. In the sign Gemini, there's a constellation called Camelopardalis. It's a combination of 2 words, Camelos right here, and Pardalis. Camelos means camel, Pardalis means leopard. The camel leopard. In fact, the giraffe was originally called Camelopardalis because they looked at it and they didn't know what else to call it. They're like, it looks like a camel, it looks like a leopard with the spots, so let's just call it Camelopardalis. That's in Gemini. Ursa Major, the bear, is in Cancer. The lion is Leo. These are 3 signs in a row. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. That is 3 signs in a row. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, that's Aries, but it spoke like a dragon. The dragon is in Aries too. This is talking about Aries. Cargoes of cinnamon and spice, of incense, myrrh and frankincense, I don't know if you know this, are olive plants, and that has to be Libra. Wine and olive oil, that's Libra. Fine flour and wheat, that's Virgo. Those are connecting signs. Cattle is Taurus. Sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. Horses and carriages, and human beings sold as slaves. So my point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. That's John Dominic Crison. So suddenly Revelation doesn't seem so scary anymore, right?
Yeah, when you look at that in interpretation of it, man, I'm sure you've gotten a bunch of pushback on this.
A bunch of pushback? You'd be surprised.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I just I find this stuff fascinating, to be honest with you, because I'm
going to continue to make a case.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Man.
Matthew 3:2, repent of your sins and turn to God, for the kingdom of heaven is near. Each gospel begins at one of the 4 major points. That's here, 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 here. The solstice is in the equinoxes. This is the cross, again, that I mentioned. So Leo, ruling planet, is the sun. It's the only planet, it's the only sign that the sun rules over. The closest point to Leo is right here, Cancer, June 21st. So that's where the gospel starts. Now, I mentioned to you the cusp and the handover date stuff too. How when you're here, it could talk about either or. Matthew 3:4. John's clothes were woven from coarse camel hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts and wild honey. If we take the most famous drawing of a man, Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, and superimpose it onto the zodiac, we can make sense of this. I've had Christians tell me that the Vitruvian Man didn't exist when the Bible was written. It doesn't matter. I could have used a stick figure. It just needs to represent something. So, Cancer, right here, being the head, is why he eats wild honey. Why? Because the beehive cluster is there, and there's his mouth. His head is in Cancer. So the mouth is just eating the beehive cluster. That's what it's doing. Leviticus 11, which I told you I'd get to. What's clean and unclean to eat? All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be regarded as unclean by you. There are, however, some flying insects that walk on all fours that you may eat. Of those that have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of those you may eat any kind of locust. So there it is. Locust is a food. Katydid, cricket, or grasshopper. So we were in Leo. Now we're in Cancer. That's 2 signs in a row. Incidentally, when they try and get you to eat bugs in the news, that's biblical. A pound of grasshopper is 3 times as nutritious as a pound of beef. It literally comes from Leviticus 11. That's what they're trying to get you to do. So we were in Leo. Now we're in Cancer. That's 2 signs in a row. Now we're in Gemini because that's a little bit lower on the body. So that's going to cover this area right here. And a little lower down on the body is the clothes made out of camel hair, or the constellation Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. So now you have the head and the upper body so far. So we were in Leo, then we were in Cancer, then we were in Gemini, now we're in Taurus right here, which is the midsection right here, which is where you'd wear the belt. Taurus represents the bull and the female is the cow. The cow is where you get the leather from. Regarding the belt, Orion's belt sits right here between Taurus and Gemini. So you have the belt, Orion's belt, the leather belt. So next would be the baptism. So we were here. Now, how are we going to get from here to the beginning of a water sign? The cross sign right here. So you're at the cusp, and now you're at the cusp here. And right here is Aquarius, the man with the water pitcher, who's doing the baptism. The man with the water pitcher is Aquarius, is personified as John the Baptist with the water. It's important to note, too, that John the Baptist and Jesus are always exactly 6 months apart. When you think about the fact that Jesus is born on December 25th, right, which is right here, and he rises a degree a day, That means that John the Baptist has to be born here, which is June 24th, and decrease a degree a day. This is why in John 3:30, John says he must increase, but I must decrease. And it's also why St. John's Day is exactly 6 months to the day of the birthday of Jesus. Open up any calendar. St. John's Day, the Catholics celebrate it on June 24th. That's 6 months apart from Jesus. So the next story is the temptation of Jesus. So we're going to go right here to July 24th. That's the day right here. Well, this is simple. He's tempted for 40 days. So just literally count 40 days. You count 40 days, you get from July 2nd to September. July 24th to September 2nd. That's right in the middle of Virgo. So Virgo's the lady with the wheat stalk, right? So what's the very next story? Matthew 4:3. If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread. Here we see the mention of the bread, which tells you that the sun is in Virgo. Then so the sun is in Virgo. The next passage, Matthew 5:17 and 22. I did not come to abolish the law. And if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. Well, law and judgment both happen in Libra. These are connecting signs. Matthew 7:15 and 16. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep. That's Aries right here. And can you pick grapes from the thorn bushes? The grapes are Libra. That's right here. Moving along, Matthew 13. Later that same day, Jesus left the house and sat beside the lake. So you are right here because you were in Leo. That's where the story paused. Now you go across right here. This is between Aquarius and Pisces. So that's besides the lake. If he was in the lake, he'd be in one of the water signs, but he's besides the lake. So because you know this is the case, he's across from Virgo right here. What are the next three parables from Jesus? The wheat and the weeds, the mustard seed, and the yeast. That all has to do with Virgo, bread making. Moving right along, next is the fishing net parable. So just go back. And now you're touching Pisces, so you can talk about the fish. This is a simple keyword cipher that they basically use these keywords in order to make entire stories constantly about this. So Gemini is the sign of two men, technically twins. However, there's just a short mention of brothers in the next passage. He's just the carpenter's son, and we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. This ends here in Gemini because its opposing sign is right here. This opposing sign right here, this day is December 21st, which I told you was the day of death. So what is the very next story after this? It's the death of John the Baptist. As I've mentioned previously, death comes at the end of Sagittarius. So let me show you how scripture is written. Let's take this sentence, which sounds like it could be in the Bible, but isn't. If I say to you, the rulers were divided between war and love. It split the land in half. You could read that as scripture or literal translation. Or the ruling planet of Aries is Mars, who's the god of war. That's right here. The ruling planet of Libra is Venus, who's the goddess of love. That's right here. There is your war and love, the connecting signs. If you connect them, it splits this land in half. That's how scripture is made. Matthew 14, 17, and 32. But we only have 5 loaves of bread. The bread is Virgo. And the 2 fish. The 2 fish is literally Pisces. Guess what? These are opposing signs. This is the cross of God's Son. We were just in Virgo, remember? And now next is Libra, which is law, wine, and oil, remember? What stories do we get now? The story of the temple tax, the unforgiving debtor, divorce and marriage. That's all law. And the parable of the vineyard worker. That's wine. Then next is Scorpio, the betrayer. This is where Judas betrays Jesus with the kiss. And then here's where Jesus is crucified. Again, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, 5 signs in a row. Astrology is a language. If you understand this language, the sky speaks to you. Are you starting to see the great implication of this so far? What I'm showing you means at the very least, if you're truly honest with yourself, I know I'm not talking to you specifically, but
Right.
If you're religious and you're getting pushback from this, or you're feeling really uncomfortable, the cognitive dissonance, at the very least, this means that the Bible is not meant to be taken literally, that there are other ways to read it. And that's the case. So what is the point of all this? We take for granted that we have calendars, clocks, watches, weathermen. The ancients didn't have any of that. They had sundials. In the Bible, they worked on dream interpretations for harvest. They had to know things. They needed to know that Taurus was when you put the plow on the bull and plant as above, so below. The Bible, as I'm showing you, is an encoded farmer's almanac and was the knowledge of staying alive, the most important thing. They would look at the stars and see all this movement and make stories up about them and pass them down to their children, then them to their children. Eventually, they learned how to write and wrote them down, and it evolved from Sumerian to Babylonian to Egyptian to Judaism, Old Testament, and to the Christians in the New Testament. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. So I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to show you. It's not just the Bible that can be read like this. It's everything, and I'm going to show you that. But first, I have to make this point. The U.S. was not founded as a Christian nation. I'm going to give you some quotes. Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man. That's Thomas Jefferson. I have found Christian dogma unintelligible. That's Benjamin Franklin. This would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. That's John Adams. The Constitution is a guide which I will never abandon. That's George Washington. But there's more. And the day will come when the mystical generation of Jesus by the Supreme Being as his father in the womb of a virgin will be classed with the fable of the generation of Minerva in the brain of Jupiter. That's Thomas Jefferson in a letter to John Adams. What influence, in fact, have Christian ecclesiastical establishments had on civil society? In many instances, they have been upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been sent as the guardians of the liberties of people. James Madison. The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries. That's James Madison. This last one is my favorite, and this is from Thomas Paine right here. The Christian religion is a parody on the worship of the sun, in which they put a man called Christ in the place of the sun and pay him the adoration originally paid to the sun. So, I also want to show you this too. Why do they always crash the stock market in Libra, in case you don't think that the elites use astrology? The Panic of 1907, October 1907. Teddy Roosevelt, Republican. Wall Street crash of 1929, October 24th, 1929. That's one of the cusp days for the handover from Libra to Scorpio, by the way. But the energy's still blend, so it counts. Herbert Hoover, Republican. October 19th, 1987, Black Monday, Ronald Reagan, Republican. October 13th, 1989, Friday the 14th mini crash, George H.W. Bush, Republican. October the 9th, 2002, stock market downturn of 2002, George W. Bush, Republican. October 24th, that's another handover date, 2008 crash, handover date to Scorpio, George W. Bush, Republican. So the first presidency with Trump, they used the shots to screw everything up. There's a very real chance that in about 6 months, you're going to have a stock market crash. You see things starting to dip. They start with Tesla. You see everything happening. There's a Republican in office. You're telling me that naturally all the stock market crashes occur in Libra? Just showing. The Roman Catholic Catechism 2116. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, there it is, palm reading, interpretations of omen and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance and recourse to mediums, all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. There's clearly astrology in the Bible. And the Roman Catholic Catechism right here will have you believe that it is evil. It is not evil. They are lying to you. Now, what I wanted to show you is a couple of things here. The movie Face Off. 1990s movie Face Off starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. What are their characters' names? Nicolas Cage's character is Castor Troy, him. Castor Troy and Pollux Troy. I mentioned that earlier. That's literally the names of Gemini. Well, what about Travolta? His name is Sean Archer. Who's the Archer? That's Sagittarius with the bow and the arrow. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs. So the elites use this in movies.
Right.
There are a ton of characters in Harry Potter that are named after stars or constellations. You have Draco Malfoy, Pollux Black, Sirius Black, Andromeda Black, Regulus Black, Taurus black, Cassiopeia black, Orion black, Cygnus black. They have all this shit, and they don't want you to know this. In fact, remember Batman Begins, that awesome movie?
Yeah.
His name was Ra's al Ghul. Well, Al Ghul or Al Ghul is the demon star, which is in Taurus. It's fixed.
Is that where
that's
the
why
word
his name-
is that where ghoul comes from?
Al Ghul, yeah.
Ghoul? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Remember this video, the Cranberries?
I haven't seen it in a while.
1990s song video for the Cranberry Zombie. Here's Dolores O'Riordan painted gold like the sun, and her hairdressing represents the rays of the sun. Much like Jesus in the crown of thorns. But is it that? Well, after this particular scene, look at what you have. You have the sun, the gold, on the cross, and the little bow and arrow ready to kill her. They are telling you these signs and these stories deep in there. What about the 72 virgins that all the Muslims die for? That's what they do it for. There's a star called 70 Virginis, which is borders Virgo. So that's 70. Then there's one virgin in Virgo. That's 71. Plus the one virgin that you marry on Earth, 72. Now, the Muslims will come at me and they'll tell me, you can have multiple wives, this and that. Yeah, but the caveat is you have to be able to afford them in order to do that. And most people cannot. So they stay single married. But it's not just the Bible. If you don't know by now, the Bible is not original. You still might have doubts. Here's 6,000 years of ancient holy texts going from 5 Sumerian tablets, the Babylonian Enuma Elish, the Code of Hammurabi, which is where the Jews get their punishments and code of ethics from, to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, to the Gnostic texts, all of them, to the Quran, the Book of Mormon. So what I'm going to do is I'm obviously not going to read you all of them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you like one example from each, since I've already made my case for this. So the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? May the bear mourn you, the hyena, the panther, the leopard, deer, jackal, lion, wild bull, gazelle. May the rivers Ulaya and Euphrates mourn you, whose sacred waters we offered to the gods. May the young men of the great walled Uruk mourn you, who cheered when we slaughtered the bull of heaven. Who is the bull of heaven? That would be Taurus. May the farmer mourn you, who praised you to the skies in his harvest song. May the shepherd mourn you, who brought you milk. May the brewer mourn you, who made you fine beer. May Ishtar's priestess mourn you, who massaged you with sweet-smelling oil. May the wedding guests mourn you like their own brother. Incidentally, Ishtar is where we get Easter from.
Right.
The bear is Ursa Major, the great bear that's in Gemini and Cancer. The leopard is Camelopardalis, which I explained to you, the camel leopard. It's in Gemini. Mriga or deer is located in Orion, which is between Taurus and Gemini. The lion is Leo. The wild bull is Taurus. The rivers are Pisces, the water sign signifying the water. The bull of heaven is Taurus. The shepherd is Aries, as previously mentioned. The milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose center is in Sagittarius. The brewer and the fine beer is from barley, which is harvested in Virgo. Ishtar's priestess is Virgo, the woman. The sweet-smelling oil is the oil from Libra. The mourning like their own brother is Gemini, the brothers. So out of this 6,000-year-old one single passage, 10 out of 12 zodiac signs. It's just missing Scorpio, the scorpion, and Capricorn, the goat. Astrotheology and Enki and the world order. That's Sumerian. Father Enki engendered by a bull, begotten by a wild bull. Great dragon who stands in Eridug. A grove of vines extending over the lands, where stags are born, where wild goats are born in meadows. You close up the days and make the months enter their houses. The bull is Taurus. The dragon and its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius. The stag is the deer, which is Mriga, which is in Orion, which sits between Taurus and Gemini, and the goats are Capricorn. 7 signs in a row. It's not even just random. 7 out of 12 is not random, let alone in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius. It's unbelievable. So, Enki and Nirhusaja. In Dilmun, the raven was not yet cawing, the partridge not cackling, the lion did not slay, the wolf was not carrying off lambs. The dog had not been taught to make kids curl up, the pig had not learned that the grain was to be eaten. The raven is the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders Virgo. The lion is Leo. Those two are connecting signs. The wolf is the constellation Lupus, which borders Libra. Now it's 3 connecting signs. The lamb is Aries, which is the wolf's opposing sign. The dog is Canis Major, which is 11 stars in Cancer. Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. Now you have 4 signs in a row. Inanna's descent to the netherworld. She took the 7 divine powers. She had placed twin egg-shaped beads on her breast. After 3 days and 3 nights had passed, and the other, the life-giving water, they will offer you a river full of water. They will offer you a field with its grain. They eat no fish. The 7 of them poured the milk. They would not let the shepherd play their pipe. He turned his feet into snakes' feet in the beer house and the tavern. Incidentally, if you look at my slides, I also put the numbers so that you can actually find the scripture reference. So you can literally jump right to it, or the tablet. These are the lines in the tablet. The 7 divine powers are the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. That's in Taurus. The twin is Gemini. Those are connecting signs. The life-giving water is Aquarius, and the river full of water is Pisces. Those are connecting signs. The field and the grains are Virgo. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. The fish is Pisces as well. The milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose centers in Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs. The shepherd is Aries. So far, we have Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. You have 5 signs in a row. The snake is Ophiuchus, which sits in sidereal astrology between Scorpio and Sagittarius. The beer house is Virgo. So in this tablet, you have 7 signs, but you have 5 in a row. These are teaching you how to understand the heavens, the signs. It's Eve's roar like a bull. Enki's journey to Nibiru. And it's not Nibiru, it's Nibiru. There's a difference.
Nibiru. Okay.
They're different places. It's Eve's roar like a bull. Your lock has no rival. Your bolt is a fearsome lion. Your roof beams are like the bull of heaven. Your vault is a bull rising its horns. Your door is like a lion who seizes a man. Your staircase is a lion coming down on a man. Rising sea without a rival. Mighty awe-inspiring river which terrifies the land. A lion in the midst of the Abzu. The Suhu carp plays among the honey herbs. Enki had oxen slaughtered and had sheep offered there lavishly. Enki reached for the beer and had emmer wheat beer pressed out. Again, I give you the lines so you can actually review it and do this yourselves. The bull is Taurus. The lion is Leo. The man is Aquarius. Aquarius and Leo are opposing signs. The carp is Pisces. And the honey is the beehive cluster in Cancer. Aquarius and Pisces are connecting signs. The sheep is Aries. Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. Now you have 4 signs in a row. The wheat beer is Virgo. Virgo and Pisces are opposing signs. Leo and Virgo are connecting signs. Cancer and Leo are connecting signs. Cancer, Leo, and Virgo are 3 signs in a row. I mean, it's unbelievably how many of these connections they make. Now look at this. There's 9 signs in this one. It's missing Gemini, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. These are the missing ones, but even in the missing ones, there's patterns. Because Gemini and Sagittarius are opposing signs, and Sagittarius and Capricorn are connecting signs. There's even patterns in the missing signs. It's unbelievable how they wrote this. So there are countless other Sumerian texts. I only give you 5 examples to show you the patterns. So let's do the Babylonians now, the Enuma Elish. Then Tiamat enlisted a horned snake, a Meshushu dragon, a mad dog, and scorpion man, half fish, half man, half bull. The horned snake is Ophiuchus, a dragon is Draco, the mad dog is the dog star Sirius, and scorpion man is Scorpio Aquarius mix. The half man, half fish is Aquarius Pisces mix. Incidentally, since we're talking about half man, half fish, that's a merman. That's Aquarius, the man, and Pisces. They're connecting signs when you mix them. Pisces and Virgo, the woman, and Pisces, the fish, make the mermaid. Those are opposing signs. So even our mythical creatures have to do with the heavens.
Dude.
The half man, half bull, which is half Aquarius, half Taurus. The Code of Hammurabi. This is where the Jews get their punishments from. Like, if you rape your woman, you have to pay 3 shekels to blah, blah, blah. They get it all from the Code of Hammurabi.
Yeah.
If a man has stolen ox or sheep or ass or pig or ship, whether from the temple or the palace, he shall pay 30-fold. So the man sign is Aquarius. The ox is Taurus. The sheep is Aries. The ass is Acellus Borealis, or the donkey, located in Cancer. The pig is a constellation called Porcus. The ship is a constellation called Argo that goes from Cancer to Scorpio. There's 7 signs total here. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. O mighty of knives, lady of the 2 lands, the one who smashes the enemies of the weary-hearted one, the one who does what is wise, the one free of wrong. The name of its gatekeeper is Long-Horned Bull. What is to be said when arriving at the 5th portal? Words spoken by the Osiris Ani, the vindicated, O fiery one, mistress of heat, the joyful one, the one whom the entities of the bald-headed do not descend, the one who asks that something be given to her without the swift glance entering into her. The name of its gatekeeper is one who spears the disaffected. So the lady is Virgo, the woman, and the longhorned bull is Taurus, the bull. Excuse me. Chapter for becoming Ta. Okay, so I gave 2 examples of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Chapter for becoming Ta: eating bread, drinking beer, purifying the hinder parts, and being alive in Heliopolis. What will you live on, say the gods and spirits to me? I will live and have power through bread. Where will you eat it, say the gods and spirits to me? I will have power, and I will eat it under the branches of the tree of Hathor, my mistress, who made offerings of bread, beer, and corn. I literally told you that the bread, the beer, and the corn is all Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are in Heliopolis bow their heads to me, for I am the Lord, I am their bull. So the bread, beer, and corn is Virgo when you harvest. The bull is Taurus. Heliopolis is the city of light. It was where people went to get enlightened. They went to get light. It was called On,
Right.
which is why when you go in a room today, in order to get enlightenment or light, you have to turn the lights on, because everything is spiritual. Everything is. And they hide it from you. The Book of Enoch. Semjaza taught enchantments. Armoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barachiel taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Sariel, the course of the moon. And in those days shall the mountains leap like rams, that's Aries, and the hills shall also skip like lambs, that's Aries, satisfied with milk, the Milky Way galaxy whose centers in Sagittarius. Those are Gospel of Q. Give us our daily bread today. Which of you would give your child a stone if they ask for bread? Or would you give them a snake if they ask for fish? The bread is Virgo, the snake is Ophiuchus, and the fish is Pisces. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. Everyone who okay, so I gave 2 examples of this. Everyone who divorces his wife and remarries is unfaithful to her, and whoever marries someone who's divorced is unfaithful. So that's law. That has to deal with the law. Which of you, if you had 100 sheep, that's Aries. The law is Virgo, the law is Libra, and the sheep is Aries. Which of you, if you had 100 sheep and lost one of them, wouldn't leave the other 99 in the hills and go after the one that got lost? Well, Aries and Libra are opposing signs. The secret gospel of John. Sophia saw what her desire produced. It changed in the form of a dragon with a lion's head. Dragon is the sign Draco. It goes from Aries to Sagittarius. The lion's head is Leo the lion. Part of Draco is in Aquarius, and Aquarius and Leo are opposing signs. So this is just teaching you the heavens. It's teaching you when to plant, when to harvest, when to do all this, what to look for. They didn't have clocks. They didn't have weathermen. They didn't have any of this. All of them wrote this down metaphorically so that you could understand how to survive. The Gospel of Thomas. Happy is the lion that a man will eat. The lion will become a man. Cursed is the man whom the lion eats, for that lion will become a man. It's talking about ingesting an animal and their components will become part of you, which is a case for vegetarianism. That's what they're trying to show you here. However, in astrology, the lion is the sign Leo and the sign of the man is Aquarius. They are opposing signs on the zodiac. You get the same exact story in the Bible with Daniel and the lion's den. They're just opposing signs. They made a story up about it. Man is a skilled angler who casts his net and draws it up full of fish. They're talking about the man Aquarius and the sign of the fish Pisces. These are connecting signs. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Mary questioned her master. At the end of an eon will all matter be destroyed. Each zodiac sign is considered a house. So the house of Aquarius, the house of Pisces. Each sign is also called an eon or a mansion. There's plenty of words for it I've mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The Gospel of Philip. When he came to his disciples in splendid glory on the Mount of Olives, he wasn't small. He became great and made his disciples great so they could see him in his greatness. On that day, he said in gratitude, you who have united perfect light with Holy Spirit, unite us with the angels as well. Don't scorn the Lamb. Without him, it is impossible to know the King. No one may visit the King without robes of light. So olives are Libra. The Lamb is Aries. Those are opposing signs. Then another one. The Good Samaritan gave wine and oil to the weak man. Both wine and oil is Libra. The Gospel of Judas. The nearby lake of still waters quenched our thirst. The place reminded us of David's famed shepherd's psalm. Our souls were restored. The lake of still waters is Pisces, the water. The shepherd is Aries. These are connecting signs. The Gospel of Emmanuel, discovered by Billy Meyer. Now, this is not astrotheology, but this is something that I think I figured out that I want to share with you guys. The earth can nourish and support 500 million people of all the human races. But if these laws are not fulfilled, remember, this is supposed to be 2,000 years old. So they had 500 million people there. But if these laws are not followed, in 2,000 years, 10 times 500 million, that's 5 billion people will exist in the earth, will not be able to support them anymore. So where have we heard the 500 million from? This gospel was discovered in 1963. What was created in the 1980?
Oh.
So
Majority
I
Guidestone.
trace this back to this. This is where I think it's from the Gospel of Emmanuel from Billy Meyer, the UFO guy. He
Right.
supposedly discovered this. But based on this, based on what it says, this is as I think this is where they get their number 500 million from. But let's go back to astrotheology. Truly I say to you, from now on I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vineyard, nor eat of the bread. The vineyard is Libra, the bread is Virgo. Those are connecting signs. Eat of the bread until I drink and eat again with you after my affliction. The Quran. I'm going to show you how stupidly obvious this is. Those who do not know, say, why has not the Lord turned to the word to us? And why will he not show us a sign from heaven? Similar words were spoken by those who came before them, their hearts alike. We interpret the signs for those who are committed to their faith. And how beautiful all people see the lovely earthly passions. Here are women and sons. There are mountains of silver and gold, and marked horses, herds of cattle, and a plowed field. Women are Virgo, the sign of the woman. The sons are the boys in Gemini. Horses are Sagittarius, and the cattle is Taurus. A plowed field is Taurus as well. Taurus and Gemini are connecting signs. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposing signs. This is a fucking Quran, guys, that people are taking literally and killing everyone over. Verily in the creation of earth and sky and in the change of night to day. Verily in the creation of earth and sky and in the change of night to day. Here are the hidden signs for those who have intelligence. And among them are those who only pretendingly listens to you. We put a cover on their hearts, so they all would not understand it. And we covered their ears with deafness. And even if they see all the signs, they will not believe them. He is the one who brings down water to you from the sky. And with it we give plants of all kinds to grow. And with it we grow shoots of cereals. From them we grew grains, sitting in an ear of a dense side by side. From the date palm, its ovaries, bunches of fruit hanging low, gardens of vines, olives, grapes and olives, that's Libra, pomegranates, which in many ways are so similar yet so different from each other. When fruits appear on them, rejoice in how they have poured and ripen. Truly in this are hidden signs for those who believe in God. So what are the signs in this one? Well, the grains are planted in Taurus, then April showers bring May flowers, water from the sky. The grains grow. Reap in Virgo, gardens of vines and olives. Grapes and olives are pressed in Libra. These are the hidden signs. And whoever wants to own a beautiful garden of date palms and vines, which is washed by abundant streams, where for his pleasure all kinds of fruits, while old age befalls him, and the children are weak, so that a fiery whirlwind falls on the garden and swallows it to ashes. So the Lord explains his signs to you so that you can understand. Well, the vines are vineyards in Libra. The streams are the streams in the water sign Pisces and Aquarius. The Book of Mormon. Nevertheless, I went forth, and as I came near unto the house of Laban, I beheld a man, and he had fallen to the earth before me, for he was drunken with wine. Well, the wine is Libra. Yeah, and I also thought that they could not keep the commandments of the Lord according to the law. The law is Libra of Moses. Both wine and lawly things take place in Libra. And after the house of Israel should be scattered, they should be gathered again today. Or in fine, after the Gentiles had received the fullness of the gospel, the natural branches of the olive tree, or the remnants of the house of Israel, should be grafted in or come to the knowledge of the true Messiah, their Lord and their Redeemer. Therefore, remember, O man, for all thy doings, thou shalt be brought into judgment. The olives take place in Libra, and the judgment takes place in Libra. And my father said he should baptize in Bethabara, beyond Jordan. And he also said he should baptize with water, even that he should baptize the Messiah with water. And after he had baptized the Messiah with water, he should behold and bear record that he had baptized the Lamb of God, who should take away the sins of the world. Well, the baptism is literally Aquarius, the man pouring the water out. The Lamb of God is Aries. And I looked and beheld the Lamb of God, that he was taken by the people. Yea, the Son of the everlasting God was judged of this world, and I saw him bear record. The Lamb of God is Aries. The Son of God or Son of Man is Aquarius. Judgment takes place in Libra. Libra and Aries are opposing signs. My point, once again, is not that these ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. Now, I have an 8-book series, Into the Rabbit Hole. I'm the author of the Into the Rabbit Hole series. These are the 8 books, which I also sell, that go deeper into this, if you could believe it or not, into a ton of stuff. But the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said that all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. So do you understand? I asked you earlier about the implication of the Bible that it shouldn't be taken literally, but do you understand this implication? What is more likely? That all the Western ancient holy texts that we take for granted are living, breathing books and Revelation keeps coming true, or that the ancient elites have encoded all our texts this way and are tailoring events that people can interpret as coming true? Which is more realistic? And my Facebook is Micah Dank. My Twitter is @RealMrDank. You've already tagged me and stuff. And Instagram is Micah Dank. If any of you guys want to talk about it, believe me, this rocked my shit when I first started figuring it out. But hour and 20 minutes, just like I told you. So I know I threw a lot at you, brother, but like,
you did, man. No, hey, that's okay, dude. Like I said before we started the show, I am down for hearing anything and really considering whatever, because I have found a lot of truth along the way that I didn't know at first, right? And I know, like what you had said earlier, there's many ways to interpret a lot of these texts, and some of these ways that you pointed out, I've actually seen it as well, kind of along my journey of learning more about the esoteric and etymology and stuff like that. So what's the point in them not, or I guess if they were to not release this information, and like, what's their end goal?
Their end goal. Well, first of all, I showed you guys that the Bible is not original. That it gets attached to many different things, and they're all written and encoded the same exact way. Their end goal is for the Abrahamics to destroy each other and destroy the world, and everyone to go live underground, I believe. They're tailoring events to make Revelation look like it's coming true, even though we went over Revelation before. There's nothing really to be scared about there. Takes a lot to really get to the point where you start to understand this and read it differently and see it. But they don't want you to know this, because here's the bottom line. What the Abrahamics have done is they have monopolized people's fear of death, and they offer them solutions in this external savior. The first thing that they're going to do when you join either a temple, a mosque, or a church is the first thing they're going to do is tell you that there's an external savior. That's the first thing they're going to do. The last thing they will ever do is tell you that everything is within. The kingdom of heaven is inside you. The last thing, and they skim over that. The last thing they will tell you is that all the answers come from within. When you do not have the fear of death attached to you anymore, they can't control you. And as long as the Abrahamics keep fighting with each other, war is good for business. Peace is not profitable. So they use these books against you, not realizing how they're actually written.
Yeah, I mean, you can really see that religion plays a big part in, this kind of war in our culture and in this world. People have used it, right? I'd say to drive humanity apart from each other. So, I mean, do you think people would benefit from learning about this stuff or looking into it at least? I mean, I think there's benefit to looking into everything, man. I think there's truth in just about everything. I have many theories of my own. So I take some things with a grain of salt, or I kind of, do my own due diligence in looking into them further. But you're the first person to come on and talk about this stuff. I've heard is this the stuff that Santos Bonacci talked about a whole
Yeah,
bunch?
I taught for him at his syncretism school.
Syncretism. That's what it was called. Yeah, I actually looked into that a bunch before I started podcasting.
Mhm.
So no, man, this stuff is very interesting. It's and it makes you think, right? And
If it
like
was
I
just
said,
the Bible, then people would have valid points. But I just showed you that it was everything for the last 6,000 years.
yeah, when you brought the Sumerian text and stuff up, man, yeah, that was a little eye opening for me, to be honest with you, because I've looked into a bunch of those before. So, like I said, some people have their own interpretations of it, but definitely to take that into consideration, I think
Right.
would be beneficial in some way, as well as waking people up, just from the fact that we are being manipulated and controlled by
Right.
the powers that be, and this is one of their many tools for doing it.
Mhm.
But I do think, with anybody.
I mean, I even showed you how they do it in entertainment.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'm sure now that you've explained that to me, I'll see it more and more. If I watch something, or if I listen to certain, artist, or in which I don't really consume any new kind of entertainment anymore. There may be a movie here or there that I check out, but
Right.
or like a show. But I mean, what would you say to people who have like a spiritual connection with Christ? What they would call Christ, right?
So if people don't want to talk about Christ consciousness. Okay, there is an intergalactic entity that is the Christ. He is our equal, and the Bible is a perversion of that. The literal interpretation. I've made the case before that literal Christianity is the Antichrist, not the church. The literal belief of what you're reading right there, because you got to use apologetics to run through all the different, things that contradict one another, and then there's people that use other things that can take it even further. It's the what's that effect called? It's the placebo effect, because you're not gonna spiritually rise if you're looking for an external savior, waiting for him to save you, because it deflects the responsibility and the pain and the struggle and the difficulty that one goes through when they spiritually awake. It removes that from them. It removes that from them. It's, I'll just wait for Christ to come back and I'll just put everything on this. No, that's not how it works. I kept reading that quote. It's not that they took literal. It's not that they wrote them, literally, and we can take them symbolically. They wrote them symbolically, and we're taking them literally right now.
Yeah, man. No, what all the stuff you just unloaded on me. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh man, it's a bunch to take in at once. You're the first person to really come on the show with like a PowerPoint. I think I had Donut on one time, and he had some.
I'm still waiting for me. If you talk to Donut, tell him that I want to do my presentation for him, because he was in like Japan or something. I hit him up, and I'm like waiting to do it on his Rumble too. But like I told you, they told me, the Masons told me that this was too revealing of the signs, so I left them. And this presentation that I just did got me booted from YouTube. I had like 8,600 people there, and they just shit my account. They got rid of it.
Damn, dude. So yeah, but that's what I meant earlier when I was like, do you get pushback on it from certain people whenever you talk about that?
Yeah,
because I'm sure, because I mean, I've just now witnessed I'm getting pushback on my stuff that I went on Tinfoil Hat recently and made comments about the Trump assassination and this and that, how it's all political theater, and I got a lot of pushback on that, so I completely understand, man. But dude, yeah, it's tons of information, guys. If y'all want to check out more, go follow Micah. Buy one of his books, man. I didn't know that you were an author, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got 8 books. I'm writing my 9th. Actually, technically I have 9 because I have a kid's book. but I have 8 book series, and I'm writing my 9th right now. What it basically is it's like 1984 mixed with Da Vinci Code, where I just drop these kind of truths throughout the books. And that goes for stuff people don't know about, conspiracies, things of that nature, things that we take for granted.
Yeah. Because we're fed one thing, and we're mainly, they just, whoever's feeding it to us, they think that we're just going to chase after that. And most people do, right? Most people are scared to think for themselves, or they, they try to, they
They get that
away.
uncomfortable feeling when it challenges their beliefs, and then they have to do mental jumping jacks to get back to where they were. But no, we're supposed to understand. I'd rather know the truth than be fed a comfortable lie.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, not gonna lie. I mean, some of the stuff makes me uncomfortable, but I think, especially if you force yourself to go through that, I think it develops. I think it's good for you,
Mm-hmm.
But there's some things that people get into where it's like a slippery slope. Not everyone can handle this information.
That's right. So you'll let me know what kind of feedback you get, huh?
I will, dude. I definitely will.
Jules, man, thank you for being open-minded enough to have me on.
Dude, absolutely. You're welcome back on anytime, Micah.
Well, I have more. I have more that I can share. I'm not going to do it now, but I have other things that we can talk about too. I could put together something that revolve around the Bible and things that people don't understand.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'd love to have future conversations with you, man.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, brother. You take it easy. Did you want to put your plugs in, or you?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, Micah Dank. I'm on Instagram, Micah Dank. I'm on X as Real Mr. Dank. Just tag me in something and let your people find me or whatever.
I will.
Okay.
All right, brother.
All right. Think about what I said.
I will, man. I will. We'll see you later.
Thanks, brother.
Guys, that was fun. Like I said, it's the first person that's came on with a presentation of some sort. A lot of information. Do your own research. Look into these things. May not agree with all of it, but that doesn't mean that I don't. There's some of it that he brought to the table that I have talked about on here before, especially with mistranslations and retranslations of certain texts, that I do feel like all this stuff is connected. So guys, if y'all didn't check out earlier, me and Adrian did an episode, just kind of hung out for a little bit, talked about these structures that were found under the pyramids recently with a sonar scan or whatever. Touched back on Lamash too. That was fun. Adrian actually dropped a couple facts about it that I didn't know. So, and we talked about the JFK files, bunch of stuff. Elohim etymology coming soon. We hopefully going to try to do another one this next week. I'm going on My Family Thinks I'm Crazy next Sunday, so I'll have that on Patreon probably before it drops to public. And a couple more shows coming up in the future. I'm going on some shows, got some more people coming on. Going to try and work on getting stickers out there soon, everybody. So if you're a Patreon member, you should be able to get some free shit from me. Hopefully. Yeah. Twitter, X, Graypilled Pod, Instagram, Graypilled_podcast, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I created a Spreaker account twice, and I go about my day. I come back later to glance at it, and it's gone. So I did. Excuse me. Did I upload? I just imported everything from my Spotify onto there. So I don't know. It all said explicit by it. So maybe it's all I don't know, something got it taken down. I don't know. I'm going to have to contact them. But yeah, patreon.com/graypilledpodcast. Got some good stuff going on over there. Sunday Chaos tomorrow night, everybody. Me and Conspiracy Extremist. We may have a special guest on. I will keep everyone updated on that. Yeah. Oh, gonna do a deep dive soon on this Seymour Cray guy. Talking about he's the father of supercomputing, and he was he basically was guided by these elves that lived under his house to complete his projects or whatever. I think it's pretty cool. It's very very odd stuff. But I was going to talk about that earlier today on the earlier episode, but we didn't get to it. So got some good stuff coming, guys. Don't worry. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Sunday Chaos, and then trying to get a Sound Science booked for next week. Yeah, y'all just follow me, and if you don't yet, and just stay posted, because I will be letting y'all know about these shows coming up. Anyway, yeah, that was fun. About to go hang out with the family and kick it for a little bit. I think we're doing movie night on the Discord tonight. If you sign up for the Nephilim Dev Squad Discord, you get to hang out with me. So, I mean, they're Patreon. Sorry. Valkyrie, it's good to see you. Fire Pixie, Mac, Nancy, Zoom, Meat Cavern. There were some other people here. Appreciate y'all coming. Q, it's good seeing you, bro. Appreciate y'all coming, hanging out. Yeah. You guys stay gray-pilled. I'll see everybody later. Peace.
Kill me, Glory.
You handsome faggot.
Top Lobster Productions.
Spread the word with propaganda packs, all for just $40 shipped at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
These huge all-weather slaps will last in public for years to come. Remind citizens that birds are not real. Self-immolation is an option, and might make you magnetic. Do your part and get a propaganda pack today from paranoidamerican.com.
Yeah, paranoid propaganda packs. We got facts on these sticker slaps. So grab yourself a stack and go attack with these paranoid propaganda packs.
What are you waiting for? Go to paranoidamerican.com right now and get a paranoid propaganda pack.